Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another SLG Meetup. Your host Alvaro to bring you another successful and interesting guest. Today we're going to have with us Shaun Osher. He's the founder and CEO of Core Group Real Estate, which has been categorized as New York's top real estate marketing and sales firm. Now, just him alone, he has sold almost over $1 billion just last year in real estate sales, and he's been ranked number one in the US, or number one in New York and number two in the US, which, by the way, those numbers are incredible. And New York's real estate market is one of the most competitive and aggressive ones. So very excited to see what he has been building over these years to put himself at the top of the line. There he is. What's happening, Shaun? How are you?
Hey, good, thanks. How are you?
Good. I'm glad we made it.
Yes, yes.
How are things in New York?
Things are sunny. It's a nice day, beautiful day in New York today.
I love that. I love that. Well, look, you are not just living the dream, you're selling the dream. You are in one of the most dynamic cities in the world, and you've positioned yourself as one of the leading forces in the luxury real estate market. So I want to start by asking, what does CORE stand for?
Core is a luxury residential marketing and sales brokerage. We have kind of a mission to raise the bar in the industry. We have brand pillars which are consistent with quality of service to our clients, expertise, a consistency in the quality of what we do with respect to our clients, which encompass buyers, sellers of homes, and developers in new development projects.
I love that because I've seen some of the projects that you've been involved in, because you specialize on new developments, and the way that you have built that trust with the developers and with all these projects to be the one to be doing the sales and the marketing is phenomenal. I mean, just last year alone, you almost sold over $1 billion and got ranked as number one agent in New York and two in the nation, which is phenomenal. How do you get to that point where developers are trusting you to want to work with you specifically?
Well, it's a very long process. I've been doing this nearly 30 years, and I think the most important part of working with a developer is understanding what the future should present. The standard lifespan of a development project takes about the developer, and we sit down in the pre-development, which is designing the building, which includes the amenities, the layouts, the floor plans, the finishes. We have to kind of have a vision of the future and understand what is it going to be 3 or 4 years from today that the market is going to want. Because we're going to only be coming to market to sell in 3 or 4 years. A lot of the product you see selling now, we were working on 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Right, that's very important and interesting. You're trying to stay ahead of what the vision for the city is going to look like so that people understand what this project is going to be. I mean, here in Miami, we're seeing also left and right a lot of these new projects coming up, and that's one of the most attractive things that the city has to offer, because especially people that are looking to be part of the evolution of the city, they want to be part of these new developments. So I think that what you guys are doing by positioning these projects as like the forefront of the changes and the evolution of the city is very sexy and very attractive. So it's very amazing. Now, what you said is very critical, because a lot of people think that, oh, is that overnight success that took you 30 years, right? So it's the compound of doing things daily and daily after day so that you get to where you are today. Now, in that process, you've built that trust, you've built that experience, but what else are you doing to constantly differentiate yourself from everyone else?
Well, I think the most important thing that we do as a boutique firm that separates us from everyone else is that I'm still very actively involved in the market. It's very important that developers get live information, and live information is not in a spreadsheet. Live information comes from buyers and sellers and the brokerage community. Most of the important information is coming out of the buyer's mouth when they're in an apartment or a home, and the seller's, idea of what they're going to sell the property for. But to keep your finger on the pulse, you really need to be actively engaged in the market. I won my first new development project 20 something years ago because I was a top agent. I knew the market, I knew what people wanted to buy, and I knew what the developer needed to deliver to that market. So if you look at the successful projects, I mean, I've done over 50 projects in my career, and the most successful ones have been those that really resonated with the buyers. And where I knew, okay, we needed 2-bedroom apartments with high ceilings, with this kind of layout, with these amenities, with, you know, and you really have your finger on the pulse of exactly what the market is going to need. You know, we're just finishing selling an incredible building now for Rockefeller Group and Mitsubishi called Rose Hill. I have one apartment left, and it was one of the most successful projects in New York City because when we sat down with the development team, we kind of knew that people were going to want to work from home. People were already working from home before COVID. So we designed in these apartments home offices, small areas where people can actually live and work from home very comfortably, where there was kind of a separate area for your space to work and then a separate area for you to live. COVID came, everyone was shut down and stayed at home. And then that, you know, kind of proved our case study that, you know, work from your home is here to stay. This is how people want to live in the future. Homes were never really built before this to accommodate this kind of lifestyle change. And, you know, we could say we were lucky, and luck has some part to play in any success. Anyone who's successful will tell you they'd rather be lucky than smart. But, you know, this was kind of us taking information from buyers, going into people's homes, looking at how they lived, and then designing homes of the future to accommodate what they want in an apartment.
I love that because at the end of the day, you're also an advisor for these developers because you're the one that is involved with the buyers and sellers every single day. And as you mentioned, the trends are changing over time, and COVID definitely shaped the way that people are looking at their homes, and working from home became a trend. Also, the wellness spaces become also something important. So, with these projects that you are doing and selling, is there a specific trend beyond that office space that you are accommodating? Is there anything that right now it's like ringing the bell more and more?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of put your finger on it. It's health and wellness and lifestyle. You know,
Hmm.
so I'm seeing a huge trend happening now, which meant that the people delivering product were thinking about this 3 and 4 years ago.
Hmm.
So, you know, we're selling a building now for related properties. It's one of the most successful projects in the city. It's called the Cortland. And in that building, we put in amenities that include health and wellness, and really took that into consideration. We have a cold plunge.
Ah,
We have
nice.
two swimming pools, one for swimming laps and another one for leisure. We have infrared sauna. We have steam. We have steam showers in the apartments. We have a fully equipped, really state-of-the-art gym facility, which will rival any private gym in the world. It's got a Pilates studio, a yoga studio, a meditation area. And so I think, you know, these things we were thinking about 6, 7 years ago. What's going to be very interesting to see is now, you know, how that evolves into the future of integrating medicine, health, wellness into our lifestyle. And I think that's the biggest trend we're seeing now. And, you know, just like any trend, they're constantly changing. So it's really important to make sure you're understanding what buyers are thinking, what they value, and what they're willing to pay a premium for.
Hmm. I mean, great points, by the way. I think that you just gotta stay ahead of the curve by knowing what people want and be very affirmative on these things when you're
Mhm.
talking to the developers. But at the end of the day, what is one of the disadvantages, I will say, of working directly with developers?
Um, Disadvantages, I mean, none really. I think it's a huge advantage if you can actually create the product that you know the market
Right.
needs. I mean, sometimes, you know, a developer will second guess. They're the one putting up the money. You know, so there may be too many cooks in the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
and that's maybe a terrible scenario because when you don't have one vision, it gets diluted. You know, it looks a little bit, it could be a smorgasbord of things, and too many things trying to be too many things to too many people is a mistake that I see happen a lot, because then you'd create something that's generic and it's not special to anyone.
Right.
Um,
It's a
yeah,
great point. I think that the reason I was asking that question is because, at least here in Miami, what we come across is that there is new developments coming right and left, left and right, and those that are working specifically for that project, they need to make sure that they're standing out from everybody else. But the reality is, you mentioned something very important, and this is where I wanted to get to, is that you don't have to target the same people that these other buildings are targeting. You gotta specialize on your own niche, and that's how you stand out, by focusing on being the best within that particular niche. And
right.
I think that you have gotten to a degree where your niche is one of the highest levels, which is very, very incredible. Now, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned through the process of these 30 years in your career?
Remain consistent. There's going to be ups and downs. Markets are going to adjust, interest rates, global financial crises, war. There are things that are outside of our control. But if you remain consistent to your vision, ultimately great product sells in almost any market. And I think that's important, to stay consistent on your focus and committed to your vision and deliver that at the highest quality you can. Miami is a very, very interesting market. I think it's one of the most exciting residential markets in the world. I look at the Miami market as a very young market. It's not as mature as, say, New York City, but there's an incredible amount of potential. The administration in Florida, and especially Miami, the mayor is very pro-development.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an amazing thing. I think for many, many years, the Miami market appeared as if it was just a purely investors
Yeah.
market. The quality of the product was not as good. People were just buying there to kind of make a US investment. They were flipping homes. It was very kind of cyclical, a very short cycle. It was up, then it was down. You had a lot of projects there that sold well that were kind of gimmick projects, I feel. I don't know how many buildings are built in Miami where you can actually drive your car and park your car in your apartment. But, clearly some people like that, but that's not the majority of buyers. So I think the Miami market has, just to talk about it for a second, has got a huge potential, because I think the people who live there now and the people who are buying there now want and demand something that's a little bit different. They want something that is a little bit more mature, thought through, and a higher quality than what we've seen traditionally delivered in that market.
Absolutely. I mean, you just said it right there. And it's understanding what type of demographic is coming into the city, right? So New York, it has a different audience than the one that you have in Miami. So understanding the needs and the trends is what's going to help you shape the way that you're doing these projects and the way that you're marketing and selling them, right? Because it's important to make sure that you cater the audience in their own language, not just presenting the
100%.
product. So I think you've done a really good job on that, and I've been
Thank
seeing
you.
some of the projects you've been involved in. It's very good because you're speaking the language of what the specific audience wants to hear, which is not easy to do.
If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But,
Yeah,
you
well,
said, the
exactly.
first question we ask ourselves when we sit down with an open piece of land is, what is the highest and best use of this property? Who is the buyer? And what do we need to deliver that will make them pay a premium for something that they fall in love with?
Hmm.
That's the most important question of any question. And the way you answer that is by knowing the buyer. And the only way you know the buyer is by meeting them and speaking to people and speaking to the brokers. The brokers have most of the most valuable information that anyone needs, because we're hearing directly from the mouth of the buyers
Exactly.
what they're looking for and what the market does not have. So if you connect to that and you can communicate that and distill that into information, that's gold. But
That's
that's
the
not
most,
easy.
yeah, that's the most valuable data. So
Yeah.
you gotta make sure that you keep on doing your research, connecting with the different successful brokers that have access to that audience, and then put a plan together to deliver in what you're trying to accomplish. Now, with everything that we talked about, what do you envision for New York in the next 3 to 5 years?
I mean, New York is almost having a rebirth. and it's very exciting. COVID knocked us flat. It was horrendous. No one was on the streets. Anyone was on the street was homeless or had some issues. The crime was up. Our subway system was a mess. The city was a mess. And if anyone says it wasn't, they're lying. Um, but I'll tell you, it's come back. And you walk in the streets now, you can't get a reservation at a restaurant. They're packed. People are out on the street. People are feeling a lot better. The city feels a lot safer. The subways are working a lot better. And the city, people are going back to work. And if they're not back to work, they're out in the streets. They're connecting. In any major city, the exciting thing is to see people, right? And to connect with community. And I'm feeling that energy. When I first came to New York, that energy is now back, and it's exciting. So the next 3 to 5 years, I think it will be a magnet to attract more people who want to kind of, engage in the city, be immersed in like the greatest city in the world and connected to that. And I think from a residential standpoint, that means, we need to build more housing. We've got a housing shortage. There needs to be more incredible housing for these people who are coming to New York to live in. So I think it's a very exciting time in the history of New York City.
Well, we'll keep looking at all the projects you are involved in and what the dream in New York looks like.
Yeah. Well, Miami, I'm really excited as well to see what happens there. What an
Oh,
incredible city.
listen, make yourself comfortable. Come here for a week, check on what's going on. I'll show you around because it's definitely quite an amazing transformation. Same thing that you mentioned about New York. We're seeing the same thing here in Miami. Just keep on going, and it's beautiful. So it's just
Yeah.
exciting thing to see things here in the States, specifically in some major cities like New York and Miami, where things are transforming in this way. And we just need to keep on being part of the process, right? And add value to the people that are looking for these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, we have a huge responsibility as people who work with developers and real estate agents. We kind of determine the way people live their life. Your house is your most important place,
Yeah,
and the real estate agents and the developers and the people, the architects, the engineers that kind of define how we live as a society and as a culture and as a civilization. And I take that on as a
100%.
huge responsibility.
And that's the way to do it. Put your cap, you are the one that is here to serve and add value and make sure that you're guiding in the right direction.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned something that it always triggers this question that we ask all of our guests, which is, what is luxury to you?
Luxury to me is, there's a great quote, which I'll probably screw up, so I may not try. But luxury is not needing anything else, I feel. The ultimate luxury, the ultimate personal luxury is if you don't need anything else. If everything you have and require, it's almost like the Zen Buddhist monks, right? They reach a place of nirvana. So luxury is nirvana. So if we can deliver, whether it's, peace, health, wellness, when you're healthy, you're happy, right? When you don't have the landlord shouting at you for rent, you're happy.
Yeah,
When you come home and everything is set up in an environment to be conducive to your lifestyle, it helps you become happy. So I think the ultimate luxury is delivering the things that check a box that you won't need or look for, right?
I
So
like.
it's not more space, it's not higher ceilings, it's not more money, it's not more, it's less, it's actually less. The ultimate luxury is needing nothing. So that's my
It's
interpretation of that.
Sean, I love that because it is one of those things that it is very contrary to what we see in this space, right? A lot of people that are in the luxury space, it's always about what can I get more and acquire more and what's next. Or I have a boat, I need a bigger boat. Or I have this, I need a bigger home. And I have a car, I need a better car. It's always about what can I get next? Is this chase for what quote unquote feels like luxury? But it's funny that you talk about the monks because last year I did something called Vipassana, it's this 10-day silent retreat. And you
Awesome.
learn that attachment equals misery. So attaching yourself to that feeling, that chase, or those objects is what's going to lead to misery. So you end up literally being for 10 days, not speaking to anybody, not exercising, eating once a day, meditating for like 13 hours a day. no reading, no writing, no technology. And one of the things that you realize is that they can take everything away from my life, and I will still be content. I will still be happy. And when you reach that level, and again, 10 days is not the same than a monk that does this for a living and reaches that state of nirvana. But the point is the same, is that you reach the ultimate luxury. And that's why I'm sharing this, is because I agree with you. It's about reaching that state of not needing anything else, which is very, very difficult, but very beautiful.
Right. So, something that I've learned from people who I feel, in my opinion, are enlightened when it comes to luxury and lifestyle, are those people who are wealthy that can afford almost anything, but just because they have the money doesn't mean they need to spend the money and chase after that thing that's going to handcuff you. They're looking to, get a kind of peaceful existence. And when it comes to homes, that's not necessarily the most expensive or the biggest. So that to me is the ultimate luxury.
I love that. Well, look, Shaun, just one last question just to wrap this up. I know that you've reached high level of success and there's a lot of people that look up to you. If you could go back and tell your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think don't be afraid. You have nothing to lose. You kind of have to take risk. You can't let fear, be a disability. You need to take chances, take risk. You get one life to live. You don't have any regrets. Do the things you want to do, and do it full-heartedly, 100%.
I love that. Well, I appreciate it, Shaun. That was very inspiring. Thank you for all the insights. I wish you all the best with all the projects that you're currently working on. If you ever want to come down to Miami, just let me know. And hey, keeping well, and we'll see each other soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was fun.
Take care.
I'll see you soon in Miami.
Will do.
All right.
Bye-bye.